Okay.
All right, so I want to thank you all for joining us today while in quarantine. I know that it's a little in between dinner time and off hours, but we wanted to have all of our patients continuously engaged with our program. Again, just to reiterate what I said before, this is going to be recorded, and we are going to put this video on our YouTube channel. Cassie, Marcia, and myself, who are the registered dietitians of our Lenox Hill Bariatric Program, are creating a library of videos for all of our patients to be able to view. So when you can't attend our Zoom meetings at the assigned times, this is something that you can go back to and watch at your own convenience. And again, no patient screen names or visuals are going to be recorded. It's really just my voice and the slides. So I do kindly ask that everybody just mute your microphone so we don't hear any background noises that are going on in the home. And you'll know that you are muted when you see that little red microphone with a slash through it. And then I'll open up the platform towards the end of our talk, and we'll get some feedback from you guys as to what it is that you're going through. So the topic of tonight's discussion is 5 mistakes the RD made while in quarantine, and RD stands for Registered Dietitian. And basically the registered dietitians, you know, a question that I get asked a lot is, what's the difference between a registered dietitian and a nutritionist? Aren't they the same? So I'd like to commend myself and all dietitians out there for the extensive education that we have gone through to get these credentials. We have gone through an 800-hour dietetic internship where we were supervised in various areas of food policy, community nutrition, clinical nutrition, food service, and of course had to sit in for an exam, and we received our credentials. Anyone who considers themselves a nutritionist can just be an expert in nutrition. They could read a book that talks about diet and weight loss and consider themselves a nutritionist. So I think it's really important to distinguish, you know, the background of the clinician you're going to be working with. So, so that's what RD stands for, because I got that question asked a lot. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this topic is because if most of you have attended our live monthly support groups that we do through our program, you know, I lead the support groups on a monthly basis, and Cassie and Marcia and Sherry has also assisted at times, and we do bring guest speakers. But usually what happens is, you know, I take my lab coat off and my dietitian hat off, and I become one of you guys and kind of share in some of the challenges that it comes with being healthy and following all these rules all the time. So we're all human, we all make mistakes. We're all right now sitting in the same situation of being quarantined at home. So how does someone who's such an expert with food and behavior manage this? And, you know, I wanted to share some of the mistakes that I have made. And I'm like, you know, if I did this so easily, these are what half of my patients are doing every single day. So how can we avoid that? So did he go to my second slide? Number 1? Okay, great. Only because I'm asking this again, this is the first time we're doing the slide presentation. But mistake number 1, okay? Never skip breakfast. And I noticed that there was one day where, you know, we are now doing virtual visits with our patients. We are still trying to run our office as business as usual. And, you know, sometimes we're so rushed and we're always trying to get frazzled and get to our job or get to our desk or get to wherever it is that we need to be. And breakfast is never a priority for us. And I think that if you speak to any registered dietitian or any health expert, we will tell you breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Because what happens is when you skip breakfast, and you don't need me to tell you this, guys, a lot of the times when you skip breakfast, it's going to catch up on you later on in the evening, and you're going to find yourself, even after having a decent lunch and a decent dinner, you're still going to be looking for some sort of snack or some sort of dessert to make up for that energy that you didn't take in earlier in the day. So it's really important that you start your metabolism going, you get the energy of the engine, your body is like an engine moving first thing in the morning. Now, I'm not endorsing that you roll out of bed and, run downstairs and start eating bagels and pancakes and bowls of cereal. I like to give myself a window, and within 2 hours of waking up, I think it's really important to fuel the body. And again, you're going to hear me say this word fuel a lot in our in the webinar, because I look at food as fuel. Okay, it's not my friend, it's not my enemy, it's my energy. It's what gets me going through the day. It's what helps me focus on the conversations that I'm having with my patients. I could tell you from experience, there are times where I don't eat breakfast and I feel myself feeling very weak, feeling very shaky, feeling very irritable. My patience are lower. So, and when I talk about patience, I mean my energy to speak with people, not the, and I would feel bad for any patient who sees me on a day that I don't have breakfast, because I'm not all there. So I think it's so important that we start our day off with a nutrient dense breakfast. And when I talk about nutrient dense, I'm talking about, as you guys should always know, our program stands by the 10 commandments of eating, and we promote protein and fiber. So every time that you're starting your day off, you should have a protein and a fiber on your plate within 2 hours of waking up. What happens is many people grab a bottle of orange juice, or they grab, a bagel with egg and cheese on it. And a bagel, for those of you who have heard me say this before, a bagel is like eating 5 to 6 slices of bread. And that's a lot of sugar that you're putting in your body first thing in the morning. And what happens is when we have sugar on an empty stomach, your blood glucose levels, which is the sugar in your blood, spike up. And then what happens every time something spikes? It ends up crashing back down. And we don't want these highs and lows going on in our blood glucose levels. It's really important that we keep them stabilized. So by having something that is absorbed in the digestive system slowly, it'll help sustain your hunger, and it'll help give you sustainable energy for the rest of the day. So some combinations of a protein and a fiber for breakfast can be oatmeal with some peanut butter. It could be eggs with some spinach. It could be cottage cheese with some walnuts. It could be something as quick as apple and peanut butter. So if you guys need the handouts, we always have them available for you, of what foods are protein sources and what foods are fiber sources. And you can kind of go along and make your own combination. Even making a smoothie in the morning with berries and spinach and flax seeds and nuts is a great way to get nutrient dense fiber and protein. Okay, so rule number 1, never skip breakfast, because the one time I did that, it definitely threw me off for the rest of the day. And especially now, again, guys, a lot of what we're talking about is what is happening when you're in quarantine. So I hear my patients saying a lot of times, well, I have no structure now. I don't have my 9-to-5 job. I don't really have any reason to wake up early in the morning. It's so important that you still practice a ritual. You need to get up at the same time every single day. You should be going to sleep at around the same time every single night. And again, I'm not saying to be so rigid, but give yourself about an hour's window of flexibility. Because with this whole COVID situation and not being able to leave the house and staying in the house, for 24 hours on end, it's really important that you still give yourself time blocks of activities. Okay, so once you wake up, try to give yourself a 2-hour window to get that breakfast in. Mistake number 2. I ate in front of the television or standing up. And I think what happened was, on the day that I skipped my breakfast, I was ravenous throughout the rest of the day. And, you know, I came down after doing a lot of my virtual visits with my patients, and I started kind of eating out of the refrigerator and standing while I was cooking my food. And then when I sat down to eat, I sat in front of the television and I wanted a second plate. And I noticed that I was not mindful of my eating. And what happens is when you're sitting to eat to fuel your body and to give gratitude to the universe for giving you food when many other people in the world are starving, you need to be present. And most of the time when we eat while on our phone or we eat while we're watching TV, we are not paying attention to our hunger and our satiety cues. We're allowing the television show to tell us when to stop eating. So most of the time we stop eating when our show is done, or we stop eating when it's the end of something that we are participating in, and we might go for seconds. So I think it's so important to use this time while in quarantine to become one with yourself and to avoid any distractions when it comes to food. You know, try to appreciate what it is that you're eating. And when you're standing and eating or talking and eating and watching TV and eating, you're really not getting a full sense of fullness and enjoyment with what you're eating. So I think it's really important that we, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I feel so distracted and there's so much going on in the world and the news and whatever it is, I sometimes feel like I just need to tune out, and it's really important to just like turn off the TV, light a candle, sit with nice silverware. I mean, sometimes people tell me that they're just eating out of packages. That is a terrible habit that needs to be broken. You know, again, if you want to make one with your body and make peace with food, you need to enjoy it. I am in this industry of food because I love it. I appreciate it. I think that food is so important, and we need to respect it. And, whenever you have nice china and silverware, it actually makes the food, I think, a little more enjoyable. So my call to action for you is the next time that you're eating alone is to make a nice area for yourself, use the nice china, break out the beautiful glasses, take, a candle, light it up, and just become centered with what it is that you're doing, which is enjoying your meal and fueling. Mistake number 3, and this happened to me today. I forgot to take my daily walk. It is so important that you get out of the house and get some sunshine and vitamin D. Now, I know April showers bring May flowers, and we may not have had the best of weathers. It's so variable. Some days it's raining and some days it's sunny. And I know that we are also mandated to stay at home, but it's still possible to practice safe social distancing, and we can wear a mask, and there is no reason why you should not be going outside. Obviously, again, these are exercises that you should do in solitude, but you will notice that anytime that your stress levels are just kind of going off the roof and you're just not feeling comfortable, I urge you to take a walk. I know that a lot of the conference calls that I've been taking, I try to schedule around the time where I could break away from my desk and put my headphones on and take that call while getting my steps in. And, again, I don't have my daily routine of walking home from work every single day like I used to when I was working in an office, but I am lucky to have a neighborhood, and I do make it a point that every day at 12 o'clock or at 4 p.m. to break away and try to get in. I have a goal for myself. I'm very goal-oriented, minimum 10,000 steps a day. And if I don't get those 10,000 steps with my pedometer, then I am going to be doing a jump rope routine in my basement, or I'm going to be doing jumping jacks for 20 minutes before I go to bed. not for 20 minutes, but maybe before I'm going to bed, whatever it is to help me attain that goal that I created for myself. 10,000 steps was my goal. You need to find a goal that works for you. Try to stick with it. And if you hit 5,000, ask yourself, what is it that I can do to get those extra steps in? Okay. Again, we're spending a lot of time in the house, and movement is so important for your body and for your mental health and sanity. And if you even have the ability to work outside, I mean, if you have a balcony or you can set up shop with your computer outdoors, I think it's so important to just really embrace nature, because it can do wonders on our mood. Mistake number 4, self-gratitude. So I do have a practice that every day I spend 10 minutes meditating and praying. And I think with the current situation that we're all in right now, it's hard. It's hard to be happy, and it's hard to be appreciative for everything that's going on, because there's just so much uncertainty. We're all very vulnerable. We may have family members who tested positive. We may know people who are in the hospital. So this is the test. And this is really the time to be grateful. I mean, if you're home and you're healthy and you're, participating in this webinar, that speaks volumes of how much ahead you are than most people. And I think that we need to be kind to ourselves. And I think we sometimes need to take a step back and really reassess where we are in our life. Again, getting personal with you guys. I'm living with my parents right now. It's not the easiest. It's been 20 years that I've been living on my own, and now I have a mom and my dad kind of watching everything that I'm doing, and I'm trying to have virtual visits with patients, and they keep checking in to see how I'm doing and want to feed me, and why don't I come and eat dinner with them? And I have so many different things and people that I need to answer to, and I think that one thing that I count my blessings every night before I go to bed, that I have a roof, over my head. I am now in nature. I'm not in New York City. I lived in an apartment. Now I am in a home, and I make the best of it. And, I've created a new routine for myself. So for those of you who had surgery already, who are post-op, practice gratitude. You guys have made such a courageous choice to pursue bariatric surgery and take charge of your health, and you are now healthy and happy. And we need to take the necessary steps in owning this feeling. So whether it's journaling, whether it's meditating, and again, after the 5 mistakes I made, I'm going to give you guys some tips to help you get there. I think it's really, really important, especially at this current time, to really be grateful for where you are in life, and try to avoid beating yourself up for any of the mistakes that you've made, because I don't think enough of us love ourselves. So we need to practice self-love. Oh, and the 5th mistake that kind of has been creeping up on me a lot lately, and it's really a bad habit, and I'm conscious of it, and I realize the effects that it has on my sleep and on my mental state, is working past 10 p.m. Again, I have a ritual in my apartment. I don't turn on my I didn't own a laptop for a while. I tried to really leave work at work, and when I left the office, I'd come home and really not answer emails or things like that. I do respect that everybody has a different job and different responsibilities and different hours, and you may be working with other companies or clients that are overseas, so the time difference can play a factor. But I think it's really important to give yourself at least 2 hours of downtime before crawling into bed. If you're that person who brings your laptop into your bed, the laptop is not supposed to be in your bed. Your bed is a place for you to tune out, and shut the world out and have a peaceful night's sleep. And when you have these screens with all these blue lights, it really affects and stimulates the nerves within your brain, and it makes it very difficult to go back to sleep. And again, I'm very sensitive to this because I'm in tune with it. I'm old school. A lot of times when I'm reading books and reading articles, I still subscribe to, magazines that come in print, and I order books on Amazon because I like tangible pages. But I know I'm not the norm. I know many people are reading off of Kindles and tablets. But try to dim the screen. And I know that there are blue light deflectors blue light. They block the blue light. So it's less of that intensity that's straining the eyes and stimulating your brain. So again, if you're working or you're reading, try to take it offline. Try to avoid having that screen follow you everywhere you go. Okay, it's really creating boundaries for yourself. Now, the second part of my presentation is to show you how I've corrected that. And I hope that it's some good information for you guys on how you can do it for yourself as well. We need to make peace with where we're at. And some of the suggestions that I have provided in the following slides are to give you some tips. So again, take out your pen and your paper, because this might be some good remedy to keep us all balanced. So number one, eat. Okay. So I think it's really important that you make the time to eat. Eat a breakfast, eat a lunch, eat a dinner. I know that there's a lot of popularity behind intermittent fasting and skipping meals and time-restricted meals. And listen, I do believe in those methods of eating. I do not think that they're a lifestyle, and I'd be more than happy to speak with you about ways of incorporating some time-restricted eating into your meal plan, or help answer whatever questions you have, because I know it's all over the media. But I don't encourage you to eat, to skip your meals, because for most of my patients who've struggled with balance, it's going to be very hard for them to learn how to balance meals and portions when they're restricting themselves for so many hours. So I think it's really important that you give yourself that breakfast, that lunch, that dinner. If you need to set a timer, again, I know that we're all guilty of it now because we have no structured time. Set a timer to remind you between 12 to 2 is when you eat lunch, between 6 to 8 is when you eat dinner, between 7 to 9 is when you have breakfast. And work with those windows so you're not so hard on yourself if you miss it, but at least give yourself a little bit of flexibility. Meal prepping is so important. I know that a lot of us are limited with running to the grocery stores and kind of stocking up on food, but if you prep these meals, you're not going to come down to the kitchen ravenous when it's lunchtime and kind of grab a bag of chips instead of a more nourishing meal of tuna fish and a chopped salad. So I'll go over some pantry essentials that I think you guys should have, but keeping your meals, preparing your meals beforehand, or, batch cooking for the week or the night before for 2 days can be really helpful to prevent you from making the wrong choice when it comes to food. Preparing new recipes with pantry essentials. So again, I think that you guys have time. A lot of times I have people who tell me, I don't have the time to cook. You now have the time. There is no excuse, and be creative. I know that since I'm home and I'm spending a lot of time, in the kitchen with my mom, I prepared black bean brownies. I created an avocado chocolate mousse, chickpea salad, frozen veggie egg frittata. These are all pantry essentials. Canned beans can go a long way. They could be used in a dessert instead of using flour. Beans can be used as your starch when it comes to baked goods. Cocoa powder, unsweetened cocoa powder is a pantry essential for me. I put unsweetened cocoa powder in my coffee every morning. I put unsweetened cocoa powder in my Greek yogurt with a little bit of honey if I'm looking for a creamy, chocolatey dessert. Again, if you are lactose intolerant, an avocado chocolate mousse is another alternative for that creamy dessert. Chickpea salad, again, you could make the main dish like a multi-bean dish with chickpeas and black beans and kidney beans, or you could just throw the chickpeas in a vegetable salad with chopped up spinach and carrots and tomatoes and onions and peppers. Again, as most of you know me, and I've said it several times in my other Zoom meetings, I eat with my eyes, I eat with my senses. I like colors, I like crunch, I like sweet, I like sour, I like savory. So I like to throw whatever I can, everything but the kitchen sink in my meals. And frozen vegetables are necessary. I mean, everybody tells me, well, I don't want to buy vegetables because I'm afraid they're perishable and they go bad quickly. Frozen spinach, frozen broccoli, frozen cauliflower are always a must in my freezer. So I would suggest that you guys kind of stock up on that, and I'd be more than happy to give you a bunch of recipes on how to use those, so you have some variety to your dishes. Sharing means caring. So again, I think there should come a lot of pride with cooking your own meals. I mean, you guys are the masters of this creation. And when it comes to food, I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's whatever tastes good and feels good to you. So if you come up with a cool recipe, share it with us. Share it with the support group. Post it on Facebook, because I think that we're all trying to learn from each other. I know that between Marcia and Cassie, I've been doing a lot of baking, and I have a sweet tooth. I should probably admit to that. But I really try to avoid flour and sugar because I'm a sugar addict, I think, like most females. So I started making tahini brownies and chickpea blondies and banana with butternut squash chocolate chip bread. So again, I'd be more than happy to share these recipes with you guys. And what I've been doing is just sharing it with all my friends. I'm like, hey guys, look at what I made tonight. So I think there comes a sense of pride when you make your own creations. And avoid bringing impulse purchases in the house. Okay, this is the biggest mistake a lot of my patients make. They go to the supermarket hungry and they buy a lot of things that aren't on those commandments of eating. And listen, if they're in the house, what are you gonna do? You're gonna eat it. So this has nothing to do with willpower. This has to do with the environment that you have created for yourself. So if you're that person who's buying a bunch of potato chips and chocolate chip cookies and orange juice in your cart, you're going to be eating that. Okay. So it's very hard to kind of restrict yourself to 10 potato chips, like it says on the back of the package. So try not to test yourself.
Sharon, is it okay before we move to the slide to just sort of speak to the idea, because it's interesting if you look in the chat box that you stimulated some conversation with regard to the baking, the black bean brownies and the chickpea or whatever, and so it's great that you're also going to be able to post those recipes. But can you also speak to the idea about, how to, to not eat the entire pan, about how to think about it in terms of a serving, because I think sometimes that also kind of gets away from us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that when it comes to, so thank you, because I don't have the chat box open. I think I'm limiting what my screen can show. Can you guys actually, I'm so sorry to cut off, but do you see me speaking with other faces on? Because I just want to make sure I don't have other people's names on the screen if we're recording this and posting. Or do you just see my slides? Sherry? Do you see everybody else or just
Yes.
the slide?
You could see, yeah. Hi, Sharon.
On the right hand.
Jimmy,
Yeah, I
you
can
see
see
yourself?
Yeah, I see myself. I could do a scroll through to see people, but I also see a slide and I see the chat.
All
so
right.
It depends on how you lay out your screen.
Okay, I'm going to actually take off all of your images and my visuals so we don't have anybody's faces on here.
We can stop video. Should we stop video?
You can do, no, it's okay. You guys can stay, whatever works for you. I'm just going to minimize that. And Sherry, to answer, I guess you can answer, just ask me to pause and I'll answer those questions. as we go along. But how do you avoid eating the whole box or the whole brownie batter that you've made? It's a great question because I've had to work very hard at that. It's a very good question. And what I've noticed is any recipe that comes to baking, I actually started using muffin tins. So when I'm pouring the batter, instead of doing it in a cake tin, I'm doing it in a little muffin tin. So that way it's portion controlled. Another tip is to, if you don't have access to a muffin tin, again, blondies, brownies, cookies, whatever you want to call it, they all taste the same. It doesn't matter what shape it comes in. It's more dependent on what the size is. I think that it's important that you portion control and that you try to portion out what it is that you're going to eat and to either freeze or give it away. Okay, so you cut a nice 2-ounce piece for yourself, which may be, maybe half of the size of your palm or whatever it is that you're looking to indulge in. But the rest goes away. Okay, either freeze it, you put it in the refrigerator, you put it in individual Ziploc bags, or you give it to a neighbor. And believe me, people will embrace the fact that you're sharing such goodies with them. And then for you, you're not overeating on it. Because I think a lot of times when we start to cook healthy desserts, a lot of us think it's the green light to overeat on it because there's no sugar in it. There actually is. Anytime that you're using honey or that you're using maple syrup as the sugar replacer, those are still considered sweet. So I think it's really important that you're mindful of that, because every time people say, like, well, do you put any sugar in this? And I'm like, no, I put honey in it. It doesn't make it any healthier. It does make it more natural, but nutrient wise, as far as how many carbs it has, it's still up there. So personally, I know that I get full faster with my own desserts than a Betty Crocker, because the nuts, the coconut flour, the almond flour, the butternut squash that I'm using in place of regular wheat flour is high in fiber and high in fat and high in protein. And we all know that these are the nutrients that tend to keep us full, okay? Pure sugar stimulates hunger, it stimulates appetite. So that's why one Enten's cookie is never enough. So I think when you know what's going in your food product, it gives you a little more assurance that it's okay. But again, in moderation. Does that answer that question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, great. Next tip, move. Okay, so the first one we said is you got to eat. Okay, what you need to do is also move. So take it outside. If your community isn't on full lockdown, take your workout outside. Make sure you're in a big space, enough to maintain social distancing rules. Again, my suggestion is get a pedometer or get something to help you track your steps. Give yourself a goal. For some people, it might be 10,000. For some people, it might be 5,000. See what's achievable and what's realistic, but something that you can challenge yourself to do on a daily basis. And if you can't take the walks outside, I have a wonderful YouTube video that I can share with you guys. It's like a step aerobics class, but with steps. So that you don't need a step to step on, but it's just walking steps. And because the music has this, this rhythm and this beat, it just keeps your heart rate going. So you can't really stop. And it's another great way to get your steps in when you can't go outside on those rainy days. Otherwise, I encourage you guys to go out as much as you can. Take an exercise class. This is your time, okay, to experiment with online exercise classes. They are rampant on the internet. There is Zumba, there is yoga, there is Pilates, there is Insanity, there is Beachbody. Find something that works for you, okay? Find an exercise program at your own level. Now, I know people sometimes do this through their phone. I think it's so important to have a large screen because it's so much more inviting and it's so much more fun to see something on a large visual screen than it is on your little teeny weeny phone. So if you have an HDMI cord, guys, this is just a little tip. take an HDMI cord. Usually you have one connected to your cable box. Plug it out of your cable box, put it into your laptop, and whatever's on your screen is now going to connect to your television. And I've noticed that when I've given this tips to a few of my clients, they said that they're so much more excited to do online exercise classes. So just a tip, if the laptop isn't working for you, definitely take it onto the television screen. Again, if we're going to take our exercise outside, bike, rollerblade, jog, speed walk, whatever it is that you know that you could maintain. If your goal is to lose weight, then you obviously want to push yourself out of your comfort zone. So walking may not be the best form of exercise. Maybe you should put a little bit of a challenge on your body and start speed walking or jogging if you can. And again, maybe if it's just for 10 seconds and then walking, adding intervals of challenging speeds and intensity is really what's going to get your metabolism moving. And again, as I mentioned before, when you are outside, turn your conference calls into walking calls. Sleep. Okay, so that goes back to my 5th mistake of too much screen time right before bed. Do not skimp on sleep, even if you're feeling anxious. I know a lot of the times when we're watching the news and we're hearing all of these, statistics, it really starts to pent up our energy, and it's probably not the best thing to watch, okay? Anything that increases your anxiety levels before bed. So try to avoid screen time 1 to 2 hours before you're getting into bed. Limit social media or any anxiety-provoking late-night news. Dim the lights early. So I guess, while I have this camera, I think it's important for me to show, if you don't have a candle, if you guys can see, I have a salt lamp. And if I didn't have this, I would probably be going cuckoo at night, because salt lamps, they tend to really center people and reduce stress levels. And you can find these at Amazon. The light has some harmonious effect on our feelings. So again, if you want something to help calm you, especially when you're trying to go to sleep, salt lamps are highly recommended. And aromas and scents can do the same thing. So lavender is a great flower that is used in most spa and wellness centers to help people with insomnia. Warm teas, and of course, again, dimming the lights will help you get a little bit more of those Z's in. And, again, I'm not a napper. I know that there's some people that say when they take like a 20-minute nap in the middle of a crazy, stressful day, it helps them recover from whatever stress it is that they're feeling. So as long as you're not doing multiple naps in the day and it's not zapping your energy, if it's giving you energy and it's making you more productive, take a nap, okay? But you kind of have to figure out your groove and what works for you. But again, the goal is to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. And I think it's really important, guys, that when you are lacking in sleep, the body is not restoring itself and it requires more energy. And when you require more energy, what are you going to do? Eat. And what are you going to choose first? Carbs, okay? So when people are sleep deprived, their hormones are completely out of whack and they are craving more carbohydrates, okay? So I know with one of my patients who was, despite multiple dietary sessions and all we did was talk about food and meal planning, I took a step back and I said to him, I was like, listen, I have a really important question for you. I'm like, how many hours of sleep do you get a night? And he's like, 5. And I said, all right, why don't you get more? And he says, because I can't fall asleep. And then we went into why he's not falling asleep. And it's because he's on his phone till 12 a.m. and then he can't fall asleep until 2 a.m. So for the last 3 sessions that I had with him, we started talking about time management. And now that he's putting his phone away at 10 p.m., he's getting more sleep. Now that he's getting more sleep, he's, more regimented with his eating, and he's eating healthier foods, and he's not craving the carbs, and he's not hungry all the time. So, it may not always be dietary related, guys. It has to do with behavior and restoring, and recovering comes from sleeping more. So please make sure that you're getting 6 to, and again, everybody's a little bit different, but 7 to 9 is really what's recommended. So now that we have more time on hand, I think it's really important that we try to clean our lives. And, you know, whether that means decluttering your closet. I have this rule: if I didn't wear this article of clothing for 6 months, I'm taking it out of my closet. It's probably been sitting there for 3 years and I didn't even notice. So give yourself a time, you know, a time rule of what it is that you can get rid of clothes. And it doesn't mean that you're throwing it away. It's important. You can always donate your clothes. And now that most of you guys are either losing weight or gaining weight or wherever you are on your weight loss journey, we have a clothing swap. So if you connect with me, I can let you know where we usually donate and do these drives. Give your home an energy audit. So I think it's, you know, going back to creating space to exercise, create open space. This means get rid of furniture that's unnecessary, get rid of, you know, baskets of laundry or steps or chairs or just extra furniture that just doesn't need to be there. Sometimes when we have so much more open space, we can think clearly. So decluttering is really important on a closet level and on a home level and on a room level. You know, go do a little audit and see what's unnecessary. And then same thing goes with the fridge, you know, clean out the fridge, whatever vegetables and fruits you have. I was very, very lucky. Again, we're not doing so many supermarket runs. And in the morning, I like to have blueberries in my oatmeal. And again, it's hard to get fruit as often as I like. My little brother has been teasing me a lot now that the dietitian is home and she has all these demands for the vegetables and we can't have them available all the time. But I started to stock up on a lot of frozen vegetables, and I was able to find a frozen Ziploc bag of blueberries that I left in my freezer from a few months ago. So it was like I found treasure and I found gold this morning to throw in my oatmeal. So basically my message to you is feel free to freeze those berries so you can clean out the fridge and put them elsewhere. Same thing with bananas. Learn and grow. Again, guys, there's something that can come out of this quarantine. It's giving you some time to do some introspection and learning more about yourself and growing and learning and you know, if you don't have a hobby, maybe this is the time to find something new. Or if you always had a passion in music or knitting or art, you know, reignite that passion and get back to it. Sometimes it gives us a little bit more purpose throughout the day and it helps boost our self-confidence. So these little things really make a big difference in the long run. Read. My New Year's resolution this year was to read more books. I think as a student, I was always a bookworm. And as I started working more, unfortunately, a lot of my time came to counseling and working with people and putting so much energy into my job as an administrator, as a dietitian, that I was never refueling my knowledge. So I've purchased a bunch of books, and whether they're diet related or wellness related, it's really important because it helps give me information to share back with you, and it really boosts my creativity. So I encourage you guys to read. You can start a book club, learn more about nutrition. There's a bunch of books out there I'd be more than happy to share with you that I think are legitimate sources of non-dieting approach to wellness. You know, I'm not encouraging you guys to go and buy the diet on the juice diet or the liquid diet, because that's not the type of knowledge I want you to take in unless you learn something good from it of what works for you. Public libraries, if you don't know, are actually allowing you to download ebooks for free. So they have a lot more on the shelves now that are available, and they let you interloan them for longer. So if you have not visited your public library, now is the time, and you could even do that virtually. There's also museum tours that you could do online. I found that when I was trying to kind of browse some online websites. So again, if you want to take a virtual tour of a certain place, they're offering online avenues. And even watching concerts. I know Andrea Bocelli, I know a few other artists had some online concerts, and you could even find these on YouTube's or purchase them from the performer's website. And if you do fall in love and find that reignite that passion in music, you know, maybe you want to hire a piano teacher or start a new musical instrument, and they could be offering you some sessions online. Most importantly, we need to connect. A lot of us are isolated in our homes or in our apartments, and we're not spending a lot of time with our loved ones. I know my parents are probably going stir crazy right now because they are not able to see their grandchildren, and that's really what gives them hope every single day. So now they're doing a lot more FaceTime, and I think it's really important that you make those connections with family members to just say hi. And, you know, for me, right before this, and Sherry, I think you would appreciate this, at 5:30, I got a phone call from my physical therapist, and he was just calling to check in. And it was so nice to just see his name on my screen. And he wasn't calling to me to remind me of a missed appointment. He was just calling to say hello. And
You called me last week.
He did. Okay. Yeah. And I think that, you know, if there's someone who has like really made an impact on your life for the better, just say, hey, wanted to check in on you. This is a perfect time and the perfect excuse. Because I know for some people, it might be a little uncomfortable to reach out to someone when you haven't spoken to them in like years. But I think it's a beautiful thing. And it's what makes us human. You know, I was actually, just a little secret I will share with you guys. I was telling my mom, like, I feel a little lonely because one of the things that I just really embraced as part of my job were the hugs that I received from my patients. I mean, every time I'd either walk in or walk out of an exam room, like a hug would make my day. And I'm not getting that. So and I feel it. I feel a little, you know, something's missing in my life. I feel that void of physical touch. And I think, again, if you just connect through FaceTime or even a text message or a phone call, reach out to people. I know that they'd be very, very happy to hear from you. And you got to pay it forward, because if one person does it, it has a domino effect, and the next person will do it to the next person. And it causes this electrifying chain reaction that I think is needed needed a lot more now than ever in our world. I think it's important that the connections we make help ease our anxiety. And I think that, you know, as I mentioned before, with the gratitude journal, when you write things down, it can help give you a little more perspective of why you're feeling the way you feel. For some of you, I've always suggested keeping food journals. So like when you don't know why you're gaining weight, you know, keeping a food journal can help you stay in check and figure out where it is that you need to make those changes. Meditation. Okay, so we are going to be doing a meditation class next week. My cousin, who is actually a yogi guru, wellness guru, he does a lot of guided meditations. He worked for Calm, and he works currently now for Headspace. And he does a lot of guided meditations for virtual platforms right now. So he is going to be doing one for our group next week, and I'll be sending the link. I think we're going to do it on Thursday at 6 o'clock. So stay tuned, guys. Please check your Facebook messages in our group, because I'll be posting the exact time and date, but we're looking to do that next week. So I hope that you can join us if you've never participated in meditation. And if you're one of those people who says, well, I don't meditate, I can't meditate, it's not for me, then this is the perfect time for you to start, because I think it's really important to become one with yourself. Express appreciation for others. Thank a grocery store worker, a healthcare provider, a delivery driver. Again, it's very powerful to share your gratitude and affection to people. You know, I know in my neighborhood, all of the houses have a rainbow sign on their doors, just letting healthcare professionals know that we're watching over you. And to help support a lot of the industry that has been shut down due to COVID, this is a great time to buy gift cards from your favorite cafe, restaurant, or local business, because you know that you can use it hopefully when they open sooner than later. And it just, again, these are the little family stores around us that we want to keep business, you know, keep them alive. Another option is to find safe ways to volunteer. So if you have anyone who's elderly, maybe running some errands for them, donating blood. If anybody has recovered from the COVID-19 virus, I encourage you, you are saving lives if you go and donate your antibodies. I mean, if there's really a time to give back, this is it. I know that, you know, one of the ways that I try to express my gratitude, and again, you know, I've reached out to my administration several times. I said, is there anything that I can do for Northwell, you know, to take some time off from the nurses, or what can I do to contribute? I've asked this several times. And what has happened is our office has become a makeshift office, a makeshift test center for employees. So I was told because we gave up our office, that's one way that we've contributed, but I still felt like I needed to do more, and I'm giving to charity, guys. I saw a segment on 60 Minutes about restaurants that are creating meal packages for healthcare workers and anyone who's in need of food. I think it's called United World Kitchen, and forgive me because I'm probably butchering their name. But it was, when I saw their segment of what they do, I felt compelled. I said, if there's any way that I can help, I'm just going to give them money, because I think that every little thing counts. And again, you know, connect through the news, know what's going on, but also know when it's time to disconnect. When you get that little feeling in your stomach and that tightness in your chest and your shoulders and your back, and that's your body saying, like, this is enough, we've heard enough. Anxiety is, you know, starting to increase. So tune out and become one with your body, and really figure out what it is that helps you feel good, to keep you inspired, and to keep you happy, and to keep you going, because, you know, we don't know when this is going to end. It looks like hopefully soon, as we, you know, engage in Cuomo's conversations every day. But I think that this really is a test to life. And I've had several patients say that they're so happy that they had the bariatric surgery now, because what they're experiencing now is so different. Oh gosh, is so different than what they have done in the past. When there's some form of crisis, they usually turn to food, and have, you know, when they're feeling anxious and stressed, they'd always run to the kitchen. You know, there was a meme that one of my friends sent me, and it's like, my kitchen just said to me, what the do you want from me now? So, you know, we have this habit of going in and out of the kitchen and the refrigerator to kind of say, like, what's in there now that's any different than what's there an hour ago? So, you know, as time is passing, do something to better yourself. And that's really my, you know, my advice to you. And I hope that, you know, I know it's a mouthful. I can talk a lot when I'm passionate about what it is that I'm speaking of, but the slides of, you know, sleeping more, having a healthier relationship with food, getting creative in the kitchen, getting more steps in, connecting with people, are all the things that, listen, I'm not telling you something you don't already know, but sometimes we just need to hear it again to put it into practice. So those are my reminders to you. And most importantly, not my reminders, but my call to action. If there is one thing that you can take from this webinar that we just had and start doing it tomorrow, that is how you build and create new habits. And that is how you create a better version of yourself. So my hope and my blessings to all of you, to embrace this time and work on yourselves. So Sherry, do we have any other questions that came through? Or I know that there's also like a raise your hands button. So if anyone has any questions or comments, or, you know, again, this is for you guys. Does anybody have any advice of what they've been doing that has helped them, that might be able to help other patients, because I know, speaking as a dietitian, it's like, oh, well, it's so much easier for her. She never had a food problem. No, I have a food problem as much as anybody else. I love to eat. I have a sweet tooth. I've just learned how to navigate it. And that's why I want to share all of this with you, because if I can do it, you can do it. No one here is any different. And yes, we all have different backgrounds and different stories, but I just hope, my biggest wish to you guys is to have like another little nugget of knowledge to practice, because it's when you build on these practices, they become a new identity for you.
I wanted to just sort of interject in a moment that, you know, I know that everybody is concerned about staying healthy and COVID and what it is and what it isn't, and antibodies and all of that. And I shared with you guys who are on 77 and Lex that I had a very mild case of COVID. And it actually, the only symptom that I had was that I lost my sense of smell and my sense of taste. And that actually lasted for a week, but I thought it was related to something else. And so I did go to see my ear, nose, and throat doctor. And when I told him of that particular symptom, he looked at me and he said, you know, 95% sure it's the virus without you ever being tested. You probably couldn't even get tested anyway because you don't have any other symptoms. COVID is not a death sentence. And there are a lot of people that are out there that have unfortunately died, but there are a lot of people that have survived this. And part of it is about, I think also is about wellness. And so for where we are in this particular journey, some of us have been out for longer than others, that one of the real benefits is that, you know, your general wellness, which is the exercising and staying fit, but also the loss of weight, because they have seen that there is an increase in presented cases with people who are obese. And so when you're thinking about, because you're home and you're thinking about the snacks or whatever, think about what you've accomplished and how you want to keep yourself healthier and how you want to keep yourself safer. So I'm sharing that, you know, that piece there. But I will tell you also what was very interesting for me was the week that I lost my sense of smell and taste. I ate breakfast, I ate lunch, and I ate dinner, but I had no impulse to snack. And I would have a piece of fruit a day because I think that part's important. But I think that it was, for me, it was a really great opportunity for learning. And as Sharon talks about positives coming out of all of this, was the idea that we have very heightened senses when it comes to smell and taste, and actually the visual. So, you know, it's sort of that idea about, you know, are we really going in for, because someone was asking about snacks, are we really going in for something because we're hungry, or are we going just because we're sort of, maybe we smell the aroma of something? So it's a great opportunity to think about the impulses that we have, that the way that we're managing those kinds of food thoughts. And so, you know, if you can, you know, I just wanted to sort of, because I'm one of you, you know, I mean, May 6th is 17 years for me post surgery. So, you know, we're complicated out there, but we can, you know, we're going to get through this together, but use it as an opportunity for learning.
Yeah. And so I finally got the chat box open. So just to, you know, address some of your questions, guys, Cassie and Marcia have been extremely helpful with these meetings, and we're going to put a Q&A draft together and email it to you guys. So anyone who's on this group chat, part of this meeting, will be able to get those answers. And Barry-tastic was one food log app that someone suggested. So if you wanted some new ways to track your food and not do it with a pen and a pencil, Barry-tastic seems to be one that's helpful for bariatric patients. And someone suggested that there's a Facebook group of moms making masks if anyone sews or crochets. So I think that's a great way to kind of connect with people. I know Cassie's aunt is actually even making masks too. So this is a great opportunity to take those hobbies and do something good with it. And I think that for the brownie recipes, and for those of you with a sweet tooth like myself, I will post my delectable desserts onto the Facebook group. So just look out for that. I'll keep it as a file in our Facebook group page. And if you have any other questions, guys, that you wanted specifically for yourself, again, we are doing virtual visits. The office is up and running. We are just not seeing patients physically in our office, but we are doing virtual visits through a HIPAA compliant platform. And again, if you're finding yourself struggling during this time and you just need a little bit of help or a shoulder to lean on, that's what your team is here for. So please call the office. We are doing telemedicine right now, and I have a feeling this is going to be, part of our future. So we are here for you. So you guys got to take advantage of that. Okay.
Thank you, Sharon.
I want to respect the time, and I want to thank you all for being here. It's so nice to see everyone's face and the outpour of comments and interest in what we're doing. I will host another meeting next week on meditation. I hope that you guys will be there. Who knows? Maybe we'll turn you on to something new. And we'll send you, again, answers to any of the chats, okay?
Bye.
So
Thank
be
you.
well, guys. Thanks for joining.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.